Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. I'm great, man. What are we doing? Y'all know why we're here, man. Start sit lineup advice for the fantasy football semifinals, week number 16. And I mean, it's going to be a good one. There is no tomorrow. Do or die. We're going to get these trophies. I got you covered. Hopefully, we can get all those trophies to stack on your mantles. No kidding about it. Let me be the first to wish y'all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, man. Enjoy the time with the families. You know, get some much-needed rest, but spend the next, 45 minutes to an hour with me. Get your lineups right, and let's start rapid fire like always. Those Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray and those Cardinals taking on the Chicago Bears. What I tell y'all last week, Kyler Murray, we would have to bite our fingernails off and wait for garbage time productivity. That's exactly what happened. This week is going to be no different as the Bears defense has improved greatly. Kyler Murray on the mid-level risk. He'll give you some points, likely around that 12 to 15 range once again. So, I mean, if you're streaming quarterbacks, you had Kyler Murray on your bench. You lost guys like C.J. Stroud. Kyler's a good fill-in play once again to give you the 12 to 15 points, hopefully a little bit more to get us over that threshold. James Conner, I was wrong on this man last week. He's just an animal. He's a beast, man. We got to fire him up against the Bears. Even though the Bears defense is very good, I think the volume upside and the way Conner's been playing is a definite low risk. Fire up Conner everywhere you got him. Low upside for Michael Carter. Deeper leagues only is possessing here. We do got Marquise Hollywood. He is on the injury report. He is out of this contest. So it will be Michael Wilson, Rondale Moore, and Greg Dortch. He is also on the injury with a shoulder. So, I mean, pick your poison here. These wide receivers are not going to do much for you, but this is a good upside play for a Trey McBride. Low risk play for me. You fire up Trey McBride everywhere you got him because he has been the go-to favorite target for most of these quarterbacks, and this wide receiver room is not doing the business for us that we require. The Atlanta Falcons taking on those Indianapolis Colts. No more Desmond Ridder, and I mean, to his defense, I'll come to his defense just a little bit. He's a decent quarterback. He's just giving the ball away in the worst times possible, costing these Falcons the victories, which is why he's found his way to the bench. Taylor Heineke is now the starting quarterback for these Atlanta Falcons for basically the rest of the season from what we're hearing. So, I mean, mid-level risk for Heineke. You can't trust it outside of, like, extreme deeper leagues. Mid-level risk, though. Heineke's going to sling the football. He's got nothing else to lose. He's just going to sling that football. This does give some upside to a lot of players here on this team, including Drake London and Kyle Pitts, in my opinion. Low risk play for a Drake London. I like it all day long. Fire up Drake London everywhere you got him. Kyle Pitts does have the mid-level TD upside. Yes, I covered it in boom and bust. He has not boomed in 1 out of 8 games. It is not good, but this is the contest. You got to believe that Kyle Pitts could be useful. There still is some risk. That's why I got him on the mid-level. But if you have tight end issues like I've had all year, I stream tight ends basically all season long unless you get lucky on the waiver wire. Kyle Pitts is one I'm definitely looking to stream. Low risk for a Bijan. You got to believe, man. They're not going to put the shackles on this man 2 weeks in a row again. Bijan, you got to fire him up. You got to hope that the carries are going to come. If you made it to the semifinals with Bijan, you got to play them. This is where we're at right now. You got to play your studs. Hope for the best. Drake London as well. The rest of them I'm not necessarily touching. Low upside in the high-level risk for a Jonnu Smith. I do not like that either. Baltimore Ravens taking on the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football on Christmas Day. We got a triple header on Monday. It's going to be unbelievable. Okay, this contest, man, is going to cap out the entire contest on Monday Night Football. The Ravens 11-3, 49ers 11-3. Everyone's saying potential Super Bowl matchup. It is possible, but Lamar Jackson, low-level risk. He's going to be here to play. This is what the contest that I do want to see for Lamar Jackson. Can you hang with these 49ers is the question mark everyone's saying. I am going to be watching with peeled eyes after I ate my supper, and I'm telling y'all, it's going to be good stuff. Start and fire up a Lamar Jackson. He's too good to sit anyway. Gus Edwards on the mid-level risk. TD upside does exist now that Keaton Mitchell is out with a knee injury, but going up against the stout 49ers defense, I would likely look in other directions because you're likely going to be banking on those goal line touches and TD upside for sure. Justice Hill, likewise, PPR upside might not be enough to spread the ball around, even though there is injuries and concern to OBJ. He's dealing with a sickness, and Zay Flowers with a foot. Both these gentlemen at this point, we've heard nothing to suggest that they won't play in this contest, so you could fire up a Zay Flowers on the mid-level risk. It is very tricky to trust, but you got to believe this is one of these contests where the 49ers defense can be gashed on the defensive back end. Zay Flowers, it's a higher risk because the floor has been very bad at times, but you got to believe they're going to be suiting them up in this contest with a good scheme and get some point productivity. I'm going to fire up Zay in my flex all day long. Bateman not touching, low upside. OBJ, mid-level risk. I think you could do better than OBJ. If you're banking on anybody, it's Flowers and Likely, in my opinion, in this contest. Even though OBJ should be able to get at least some decent target share to come his way, Likely does have the TD upside in the green for me. I'm starting him everywhere I got him as well. Buffalo Bills Mafia taking on these LA Chargers, the broken Chargers on Saturday. Josh Allen stud start of the week. The only caveat I'm going to put on this one is that if this score does get out of hand, we could see the Bills players benched very early in this contest, maybe late third, if this score is out of whack. We could even see the Bills play down to the competition here and not put up as many points, so that would be a detriment to this evaluation big time. But I do believe the Bills want to do the big time get-right game, get all their players involved that haven't been playing, in this scheme over the last several weeks, like a Stephon Diggs, like a Gabe Davis, like Kincaid. Get these guys the football in mass and hope that they can iron out a lot of their inadequacy. Josh Allen, stud start of the week. James Conner, low-level risk. He's going to you want to believe his touches curtailed a little bit after the huge show that he saw with the Dallas Cowboys, but should be good enough for at least a touchdown. Ty Johnson, high-level risk. You're not touching that outside of 16-team leagues. He could get a touchdown this week as well if the backups do end up playing. Stephon Diggs, low-level risk. He's been so difficult to trust overall. But, this has got to be the week as well. You got to get back on the same page. The drop passes, the lackluster effort from Stephon Diggs. You got to believe a touchdown's coming for Diggy this week. I have to believe it. Sleeper appeal in the green does go to Gabe. Why do I say this? 2 goose eggs in a row. You know that offensive coordinator Joe Brady's got to get this man involved. Okay, couple contests. Josh Allen's missed him deep for touchdowns. You got to believe they're going to rectify this. Sleeper appeal does go for Gabe Davis, but it is a risk that you're going to play him. Khalil Shakir, PPR upside in the red. Dalton Kincaid, mid-level risk. Very hard to trust right now just based on how the Bills are moving, but you got to believe that somebody's going to take some of this bread, and it's going to be Kincaid, I believe, with a Stephon Diggs, James Cook, and then potentially TD upside to a Gabe Davis. We should see at minimum 40 points on the board from these Bills. If I don't, I'm very disappointed in y'all, because you should definitely run up this score to feel good about yourselves in this contest. Carolina Panthers taking on the Green Bay Packers. Everybody's in the red, basically. High-level risk for Bryce Young. Not touching it. Miles Sanders, low upside in the red. Do not like it. Chuba, he's got volume upside in the green because they do run the football very well, and Chuba's actually repaid you with a decent floor, anywhere from 10 to 12 points. I do like Chuba this week, once again, versus the very injured Green Bay Packers squad. Adam Thielen does possess still mid-level PPR upside. It's not enough than what it used to be at the early stages of the season, so you got to tread water there as well. If you're in multiple flex leagues, then maybe I do consider an Adam Thielen. If not, I look for better options. DJ Chark, Jonathan Mingo, and Tommy Tremble, I am not trusting. High-level risks for the semifinals. Don't like it, will not use it. No kidding, man. Chicago Bears taking on those Arizona Cardinals. Okay, and the Bears are figuring some stuff out, especially on the defensive side, which is giving the offense that many more opportunities to sling the football. Justin Fields, low-level risk. He's figured something out, at least enough to get you good fantasy point productivity. I do like that about it a lot. This is a good get-right game for Justin Fields. He's auditioning for next season, so you got to put up a very good contest, and a lot of people did drop Justin Fields when he was injured, so you got to hope if you picked him up and you're absolutely playing him this week, this could be a gold mine for y'all. No kidding. This running back room has been a headache, man. Foreman, Herbert, and Roschon all roughly around the same type of points. Don't really like it. Foreman is dealing with a personal issue, should be back for this contest. Cole Kmet dealing with a quad issue. He should be okay to suit up in this contest from what we're seeing. And if we're going for this, versus the Cardinals defense, you got to say it's Foreman number 1, then maybe a Khalil Herbert number 2. It's so difficult to trust. We saw Roschon sprinkled in last week to see more touches, so it's very tough to trust. I don't like it whatsoever. Triple head backfield, man. Try to stay away from it. A big time. Foreman would get the TD upside. Potential Roschon does spell it, and then we'll see what Herbert's role is after that. But I am going to give the stud start of the week for these Bears to a DJ Moore. 200 points for this man. 7 boom games. Give the screen passes, he'll find the end zone. Give the toe drag swag, he's in the end zone. You got to believe that DJ Moore is definitely finding the end zone on this Cardinals defense this week, and I do like it a lot. Darnell Mooney, high-level risk, not touching that basically all season long, and Cole Kmet on the low-level risk. If he does suit up, I do believe you do start him because the touchdown and red zone appeal is definitely going to be on the docket, man. Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday as well. Jake Browning, good upside in the green. He's done nothing but produce since taking over for Joey B. I do like it a lot, man. And if you're streaming quarterbacks, if you're in 14-team leagues and you picked him up, if you're in super flex leagues, I do like the play even against the Steelers. This is basically a playoff contest for both these teams, and you know they're going to come out, man. Playing up against Mason Rudolph, I think Jake Browning is going to showcase his talents more than what Rudolph can. Joe Mixon, 10 boom games, low-level risk for me this week once again. Going to be tough sledding versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the red zone appeal is always here. They're going to give it to him. He is basically turned into the goal line back, which is what we always wanted to see from Joe Mixon, so you can get it this week. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Chase Brown does have a low floor on the mid-level risk outside of the screen PPR game and potential, breaking free and taking one to the house. He's only going to get you about 8 touches a contest. Not good enough to trust in the semifinals. No Jamar Chase, so we got to go T. Higgins. T took over that contest last week, played absolutely lights out. That crazy touchdown where he was falling backwards and spun his hand around and got it over the pylon. Unbelievable play. Fire up T everywhere you got him. He's going to get wide receiver 1 numbers. No kidding. Tyler Boyd, TD upside on the mid-level risk. I do believe there's PPR upside here. Very safe floor should come his way. I'll be very shocked if they don't find Tyler Boyd a lot in this contest as well. Was one of my waiver wire pickups this week. I am firing him up everywhere I got him in my flex. Unless you got better options, I do like Boyd a lot this week. Trenton Irwin, PPR upside in the red. He might be the one. This is the only caveat. If they start going to an Irwin over a Boyd, that's where the points are going to fall. So then you got to understand, it was not my opinion to be wrong. It was who's going to get the ball, and it should be Boyd. But they do strange things, man. Irwin could actually take a lot of Boyd's targets, so we got to be careful with that one as well. And Tanner Hudson on the low floor, TD upside as well on the mid-level risk. There is potential here, but I do like Boyd and T. Higgins a lot more in this offense this week. Cleveland Brownies taking on the injured Houston Texans. Joe Flacco, he's been doing extremely well since taking over as a starting quarterback. 9-5 Cleveland Browns. You all basically in the playoffs, you win this contest, and they've been playing lights out football with Joe Flacco. Very good, very methodical, and the defense is now picking up steam once again. Like I said, the Browns defense is definitely Super Bowl caliber to me, and as long as Joe Flacco can keep them on the sideline getting rest, this defense is going to absolutely repay them. Mid-level risk for Joe Flacco. You streaming quarterbacks, absolutely, you can fire him up versus the Houston Texans. Jerome Ford, mid-level risk. He was dealing with a hand-wrist injury, and he kind of busted for us. His floor has been extremely safe in half PPR. It's been around 10-point floor, and then last week he gave us 6, so it kind of crippled us a little bit. I'm going to get him a mid-level risk. Should see the volume come back. There was no worse for wear in practice upside this week. Very much was not a limited participant, so I do like Ford playing this week as well. High-level risk for Kareem Hunt outside of TD upside. I do not want to wait for this contest, so I'm putting him on my bench or the waiver wire. Amari Cooper, okay, he wasn't necessarily targeted heavily last week, but he did find his way into a deep running yak yard touchdown, and okay, it's turned my eye more than enough to say a mid-level risk to a good upside play this week. I do still like how Houston does play on the secondary. Got some good pieces with Stingley and Petrie. They are good, talented defensive backs. But what is left for this Houston Texans team, even at 8-6? Do you really believe that they're going to be able to compete with these Cleveland Browns? I will be shocked with a Case Keenum because C.J. Stroud is out. So Amari Cooper, mid-level risk. He should find his way into good numbers once again. And David Njoku on the low-level risk. 2 massive boom games in a row. I don't foresee that stopping whatsoever because guys like Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman are not even utilized in this offense. It is going to be Njoku, Cooper, and Ford to drive this offense once again. So Njoku, absolutely fire him up everywhere you got him. Dallas Cowboys taking on these Miami Dolphins, and the Cowboys coming off a beatdown. You know they're going to want some vengeance against these Miami Dolphins. Dak Prescott's going to need to play better if they want to keep the first place standings in that NFC East. You're going to say low-level risk, 11 boom games for a Dak Prescott. But what I tell y'all, man, I wasn't necessarily a believer. I said if they would beat the Buffalo Bills, then I would be a believer in these Cowboys. They did not do it, and they looked ugly in the process. They need to go back to run the football extremely well, get Dak a little bit more comfortable, and pick up those blitzes. This is a big problem. The defense is very much gashable on the ground, so the clock control from these Miami Dolphins could come into play once again. So Dak Prescott, I'm still going to say low-level risk. He's got to prove it in this contest, but I think we could trust him in this one on a bounce back after a massive beatdown. Low-level risk for a Tony Pollard. The Miami Dolphins can be run upon as well, and I think, based on how Tony's played all season, 8 boom games, I do believe this is going to be another one for him. Got to get him more involved in this, whether it be through the run or through the short passes to at least recreate the run for these Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, fire him up everywhere you got him. He should have a very big day, even though it is Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. Lamb is going to absolutely eat in this contest, force feed this man all day long. Brandon Cooks on the low upside, potential deep shot TD upside. You got to believe somebody else is has got to step up outside of a Lamb and a Ferguson. So maybe we do see Cooks. It's just too high volatile for me to trust in this contest. Michael Gallup continues on the high level risk, and Jake Ferguson on the mid-level PPR upside. Only way he's saving his day to be a boom, in my opinion, this week is with a TD upside, and I'm not sure he gets it in this contest because they will try to block both Ferguson and Lamb and force somebody else to beat them. Denver Broncos taking on those New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football. It's not going to be a good one on Sunday night, I'm telling y'all. But Russell Wilson, let's ride. He's got these Denver Broncos still alive in this postseason push, man. 11 boom games, low-level risk because the Patriots are just, they're terrible. And what else can you say? The lights are basically turning off on the Bill Belichick era in New England, barring anything crazy happening. Russell Wilson, fire him up. He's been a great streaming quarterback for us. 11 boom games, been doing you more than enough of the business this year. Vontae Williams, low-level risk, fire him up. Even though the Patriots do play run defense decently well, Vontae should find his way back into the end zone again this week as his running pedigree has been increasing on the regular. Jerry Jeudy, low upside, even though he got himself to about 8.5 points this past week, half PPR. I just need to see more. Can't trust it in the semifinals whatsoever. Low upside, keep him on the bench right now. Courtland Sutton does draw the low-level risk for me once again. 9 boom games for this man. He just missed another boom this past week to get him under 10, but they should force feed him a lot in this contest as well. Marvin Mims, high-level risk as well as an Adam Troutman, I should say. Detroit Lions taking on those Minnesota Vikings. Okay, big statement game for the Lions as they're in the playoffs, 10-4. They're looking great, and they could basically put the Vikings out of their misery here. Good upside in the green. Jared Goff coming off a massive showing. Will he be able to replicate that? We will see. But, recency bias does creep into the head just a little bit, and I do like Goff this week, even though the Vikings defense has played pretty well overall this season. I think Jared Goff is, it was a great tune-up contest last week. Let's see if they can continue down that path. Fire up Jared Goff if you are streaming quarterbacks. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. TD upside for a Monty always exists, and I think low-level risk for Gibbs. He's been killing it, man. Taking a lot of touches from a Monty at this point. It's almost like they want to save Monty for the playoffs because they need that battering ram type of running back, so his carries are being curtailed where they're given to a Gibby. I do like Gibbs this week. Once again, he should be able to pop off once again, and then maybe Monty does find his way into the end zone. His floor is going to be roughly around the 8 to 12 points, so you got to be weary of that as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, low-level risk, 12 boom games. He should absolutely be PPR fed once again in this offense. Where a J-Mo and a Josh Reynolds, I'm going high-level risk. Don't like it whatsoever. Wanted to see way more out of these two gentlemen, and Sam Laporta, fire him up everywhere he got him. He has been absolutely stellar in his rookie season. Green Bay Packers taking on those Carolina Panthers. Jordan Love feeling the love for Love, even though the Packers are going to be out of the playoffs. Okay, mid-level risk versus the Panthers, who do play defense very well. Again, I'm telling y'all basically every week, they know how to shut down opposing wide receivers, so you got to watch out for this as well. And these Packers continuously dealing with mass injury, man. Jaden Reed is dealing with a toe. He's questionable. Wicks has got an ankle, questionable. Christian Watson is doubtful to out with that hamstring injury. So you got Love throwing to a broken cast of characters. We got injury risk for A.J. Dillon as well. Aaron Jones should actually be, moved up the rosters here a bit because the Carolina Panthers don't defend the run as well. You got to believe, feed Aaron Jones even some PPR upside work. That's what's been missing since he's been coming back. It's not near enough. You got to believe this is a contest with all these wide receiver injuries that Aaron Jones has a much better day. I do like the play of Aaron Jones this week. Romeo Doubs, Romeo on the mid-level risk to a good upside play, almost in the green for me. If Reed does sit, I do believe Wicks is on the better side of playing than Reed is, but they should both be able to suit up at this point. I'll update y'all in the comments on their status as well, but Romeo Doubs would be the biggest benefactor if a Reed does sit, but I do like the play of Doubs if Reed sits. If Reed plays, then I'm going to play Reed over Doubs, obviously for obvious reasons, and Wicks in those double flex deeper leagues, he's been absolutely decent with these PPR upside. Tucker Kraft, once again, PPR upside on the mid-level. 2 potential goal line upside does exist once again. Safest of floors, 7 to 10 to 12 points should be your safe floor for a Tucker Kraft this week if you're looking for those streaming tight ends. Houston Texans taking on those Cleveland Brownies. Case Keenum. Okay, high level risk. 12 points last week. Okay, he got the victory. Okay, I'm not buying it whatsoever. Comes off the bench, no tape on the man, and they took advantage of the Tennessee Titans. Now we're talking about these Cleveland Browns defense. Case Keenum should be eaten alive in this contest. If he's not, I don't know. The NFL's broken to me in all stretch when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks. Devin Singletary on the mid-level risk. I did undervalue him last week. For all y'all that did play him. Kudos to y'all because I did not see that coming, especially with a Case Keenum playing, they force-fed Devin, and he did very well. Mid-level risk, fire him up everywhere you got him as well. There could be good potential here, even in garbage time upside. Dameon Pierce on the low upside, not trusting it. And then this wide receiver room of John Mechie, Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, high-level risk. And then Noah Brown was the only benefactor of good target share and yardage this past week. So flex option is also there for him. Also, Dalton Schultz on the mid-level risk. How much can Case Keenum really support in this offense? I'd be looking in other directions for your tight end if you have Dalton Schultz. Indianapolis Colts taking on those Atlanta Falcons. Gardner Minshew, Mustache Minshew. Mid-level risk, he's been doing enough, man. He got Michael Pittman killed last week, but apparently Michael Pittman's good to come back. Minshew, okay, 173 points. He's doing well this year, and he's doing, more than enough in that, 18 to 20-point range for streaming quarterbacks. Very good. You could probably pull it back just a little bit this week, you want to believe. Atlanta Falcons do still play very sound defense in that pass secondary and should give Minshew, tighter windows to throw to. So if he does, succeed on this defense, okay, we got to start talking a little bit better about a Gardner Minshew. But the good news, Jonathan Taylor, JT is back, baby. Volume upside in the green. It's going to take him probably a quarter or two to get his football legs back up under him. He's been out again for quite some time. So, do we play JT? That's the biggest question. I think if we have him, you got to play him. I got him in a few leagues. I'm suiting him up. To hell with it all, man. It's the fantasy football playoffs and semifinals. Let's just hope he doesn't cripple us, and hopefully he can, break free and at least score a touchdown to give us that safe floor. Zach Moss dealing with the injured forearm once again. He is questionable to play, not ruled out at this point. So injury risk on the mid-level. If he does suit up, you got to believe it's going to be 50-50 splits between these two running backs in this contest because the Colts are definitely in the playoff race, so you know that they're going to be trying everything they can to win this game. Michael Pittman on the low-level risk. I don't know how he cleared concussion protocol. They got him listed as a shoulder. I'm calling it concussion, man. He got lit up. I don't know how he's suiting up in this contest, but it is Michael Pittman, low-level risk, 10 boom games. He's force-fed in the PPR upside on the regular. You can trust him. Alec Pierce, boomer bust on the high-level risk. Josh Downs falls back to a low upside, mid-level risk, and I don't like the play whatsoever. Kylan Granson, he goes back to the high-level risk. Don't like it whatsoever. It's going to be an interesting contest versus this decent Atlanta Falcons defense, so, pick your poison there. But Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, I'm all in this week. Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trevor Lawrence dealing with that injury, concussion, ankle issues. Will he suit up in this contest? If he played on that ankle that looked like it was broken, I think he's going to clear concussion protocol because the Jacksonville Jaguars are basically reeling right now, man. 8-6. If they lose to these Bucs, their playoff dwindling will start to happen here. So I do believe Trevor Lawrence will suit up in this contest. He will be on a low-level risk for me to suit up, even playing injured and half there on the twisted ankle because this Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary is not good, and they do give up a ton of points, and they should be able to expose that. Also, while leaning on the ground with Travis Etienne, it's been a while since we've seen a mass boom game from this man. I think it's coming from this one as well. Probably in the pass game, you got to believe short passes, screen passes, and then go to the house that way. Goal line upside does exist once again here for him, so I do believe low-level risk Etienne should be a good earner this week. Calvin Ridley, I had him on the mids to low, or to the high, low upsides last week. I got him on low-level risk. You got to find Calvin Ridley in this contest, man. It's do or die for these Jacksonville Jaguars as well, and Calvin Ridley's been an absolute disappointment. This is a contest versus a weak secondary. Calvin Ridley should have a very good contest. Fire up him everywhere you got him. Parker Washington on the high level risk, PPR upside potential, deep leagues. I'm not trusting it outside of that 12-team leagues. Hell no, not doing it. Zay Jones dealing with a undisclosed injury right now, so that one's definitely one to watch. Low upside for him on the mid-level. Don't like it whatsoever. And Evan Ingram on the low-level risk should get back to business along with it. Calvin Ridley. Feed your studs in this contest. It's got the makings of that all day long here. Kansas City Chiefs taking on those Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. It's going to be Monday Day Football, but Patrick Mahomes, boy, okay, they're looking for options, man. Kadarius Toney, again, not doing it. Patrick Mahomes is frustrated. They still got the win last week, but Mahomes, low-level risk. He's going to be fired up to play this one as well. The Vegas Raiders always play these guys tough, so definitely watch out for that. Isaiah Pacheco should be back from his injury this week. Should be no worse for wear. Fire him up everywhere he got him. Low-level risk, volume upside, and TD upside is definitely here, where Jerick McKinnon on the mid-level injury risk is definitely here. He may not suit up due to that groin injury, so watch out for that. upside if you were hoping to use McKinnon on that PPR upside. Rashee Rice, low-level risk. You got to fire him up, man. He's basically your wide receiver 2 at this point, finding the end zone, getting great target share. And I mean, okay, I've been slow to the, fence to be preaching up his good graces. I'm in now, man. Rashee Rice, low-level risk. Fire him up every we got him. Low upside for a Justin Watson, not near enough volume. And then Richie James, somebody's got to take over for Sky Moore. Richie James might be this guy, so I got him on the PPR upside on the high-level risk. We can't play it, but I'm putting him here because I do believe somebody's got to take it, and James has been quite reliable in his career taking PPR upside. Travis Kelce on the low-level risk. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Los Angeles Chargers taking on those Buffalo Bills on Saturday, like I'm saying. You got to feel bad for these Chargers, man. I mean, no more Herbie. Keenan Allen is out. It's just not good for business. All the coaching staff has been fired. General manager's out the door. Easton Stick, high-level risk. It's just not good. 23 points in his contest this past week when he did at least get good garbage time points. I'm not trusting it versus the Buffalo Bills. They should come with the bum rush and hit up Easton Stick. Stick it to him. It's what it's going to happen, man. Austin Eckler on the mid-level risk. There's not enough weapons here to support Austin Eckler, and he's not been playing well. The odds are for a bust game as the Bills will play sound run defense and blitz this youngster quarterback, so I don't see Austin Eckler doing a lot outside of garbage time productivity. Joshua Kelly, high-level risk. Jalen Guyton, high-level risk, not touching it. Quentin Johnston, low upside on the high-level risk. I do not like it. Mid-levels for Josh Palmer. I told you, Josh was always my guy. He is such a talented wide receiver, and again, garbage time productivity should be here as well, so we could see him, save his day in the fourth quarter if this game is out of hand. That's kind of what you're hoping for a Josh Palmer. And then Gerald Everett on the mid-level risk as well. Those are your two best options in the receiving game. And then Austin Eckler. I mean, if you've made it this far and you got no other running backs, I understand you got to play him and hope for the best. Those Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Aiden O'Connell, low upside. Had his best game as NFLer this past week. Will it be replicated versus these Chiefs? I don't think so. It's going to be a tough day for them as well. Not playing an O'Connell. You just got to hope that he's going to continue to find a Devontae Adams. That's what we're hoping for out of this offense to continue. Josh Jacobs on the injury risk on the mid-level. Still no word if he's going to suit up. He is questionable right now to play. If he does, then Zamir White and Abdullah do get a downgrade. If he does not suit up Josh Jacobs, then mid-level risk for Zamir White versus Chiefs defense. That is decently good enough versus the run. Amir Abdullah, high-level risk. I'm not touching it either way. Devontae Adams, low-level risk. Keep force-feeding the man. This is what we require. Aiden O'Connell just did it, man. We need it. And same with Jacoby Myers, mid-level risk to decent to low-level risk. You got to believe he's kind of in that mid-threshold for me. I like Myers this week as well. He should have enough of a PPR decent floor to get us past what we require. Injury risk to a Michael Mayer. Dealing with a toe injury. No news if he's going to suit up, but if he is injured enough, he may not see, a heaping of targets, which is good news for Devontae Adams owners as well. It is slim pickings for those Las Vegas Raiders, man. Miami Dolphins taking on those Dallas Cowboys 2-1. This is a huge game for these Dolphins. That's why Tyreek sat last week, because they knew what was on the docket and they had to go and take it to these Dallas Cowboys at home, mind you. So it's good news to a low-level risk. He's getting Tyreek Hill back. Tyreek said he's good to go, and you got to believe him. But I do believe that these Dolphins should take a page out of the Buffalo Bills playbook and utilize the ground game. The Dallas Cowboys can be beaten huge with good running back talent, and Raheem Mostert, Devin off the A-Chan. Fire both these gentlemen up. I am good to go with Mostert and A-Chan all day long. Good upside on the mid-level, and then volume upside, low-level risk for a Raheem Mostert. Definitely here. We should see a lot of rushing upside here, and that will also save a Tyreek Hill one more week to play the decoy role. But if Tyreek's playing like you said he is, low-level risk, fire him up. He should get behind the defense that does play a lot of man coverage, and Tyreek Hill should cook him on the regular. Jalen Waddle would get the downgrade just a little bit. Mid-level risk, but you can still play Waddle time because he's been doing the business enough in the absence of a Tyreek Hill. The rest of these gentlemen, we are not playing like we haven't been all season long. Going to be a great show. Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys. Minnesota Vikings taking on the Detroit Lions. They got some decent news. Alexander Mattison likelier to suit up in this contest. No official word just yet, but that does cripple all you Ty Chandler owners who just had a great contest from this man. he might get relegated back, but we could see still the touches be like 70-30 in favor of Ty Chandler because of how he played. I'm a huge fan of Ty Chandler. You guys know this. I've been preaching it for a long time, and I do believe it would be the mistake to give Madison more carries than a Chandler if you want to compete in this contest. You got to control the clock, keep Jared Goff off the field. Nick Mullins did more than enough in the absence of all other quarterbacks, Josh Dobbs and company. Mullins is decently a streamer, 22 points this past week. Detroit Lions defense is better, and I mean they're going to get Gardner. I can't remember his last name, evades me, but that safety's coming back pretty soon. And I mean, if he's going to suit up in this contest, that's going to create headaches as well for Mullins. But Ty Chandler, I got him on the mid-level risk. Madison on the injury, don't really like it. I like Chandler over Matty this week. Justin Jefferson and a Jordan Addison, low-level risk for me. This is what I've been telling y'all about Jordan Addison, my guy Addy. I've been preaching him forever. 167 points for this man. When he booms, he goes off, man. And when JJ came back, what was my evaluation last week? I said if JJ's back, this will only help pull, greater coverage from Addy, and he's going to be able to move and score touchdowns. Exactly what happened this past week. We shouldn't see another 20-point show from Addison, but it's going to be another good floor. I want to say 12 points. Half PPR should be coming for Addy this week, where JJ is going to absolutely eat once again because that's just what he does. You fire both these gentlemen up, and TJ Hawkinson on the mid-level risk got kind of overshadowed this past week with the great play of JJ and Addison, so he might get some sprinkles back, but you can fire up Hawkinson as well. It should be a very good contest versus these Detroit Lions. New England Patriots taking on the Denver Broncos. Not going to spend a whole heck of a lot of time on this. What are we really trusting in this offense? Zeke Elliott, mid-level risk. If you have injuries at your running back spot and you've made it to the semifinals, kudos to you because that's a very tricky thing to do. You can fire up Zeke Elliott due to volume upside. Even though the Denver Broncos defense is good, they still give up quite a bit on the ground game, and Zeke could absolutely find his way into the end zone. Low upside for a Bailey Zappi. I mean, not trusting it in fantasy circles. You just got to hope that he's going to be able to support this offense near enough. PPR upside on the mid-level to a Pop Douglas, and then injury risk on the mid-level to Hunter Henry. They've been force-feeding this man. I was wrong last week on Hunter Henry. I thought they would have curtailed it back, but they just like finding him in the end zone, and he scored a nice, almost like 16 points last week. Happy PPR. Very good for Hunter Henry. So if Hunter does play, you got him. I don't hate the start this week as well because all the wide receivers, they're not doing anything for you this week. New England Patriots, it has been a very bad season. New York Giants taking on those Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. The triple header, like I'm saying. Tommy DeVito, okay, put him up, man. Put him up, Mafia man. He comes back down to earth. Not looking as good. 2 boom games, 93 points. He did not look good this past week. Should be in for a decent show this week, even though it is in Philadelphia. The crowd's noise going to be there. I think the Eagles need a get-right game in a very big way, and they should come out DeVito a lot in this contest. Where it is a mid-level risk, I'm not playing them outside of 14 and 16-team leagues if you have to. I do not like it. Look in other directions. Saquon, on the other hand, low-level risk. Like I told y'all with Kenny Walker last week, the Eagles can be beat on the ground now. It just seems like they're tired, they're worn out, they don't have the support when it comes to the linebacker position. They can be beat, especially on the outside. Saquon Barkley in the short pass game and the outside runs should be able to carve up this Eagles defense. Matt Breida, high-level risk. Darius Slayton and Wandale, I'm going to give them the mid-level risk. The target share has been there enough to give you at least 6 points. It's very, a deep, low floor for y'all. It's not enough to give you the high, warm, and fuzzies, but if you're dying for a play this week, it sucks, you got to say, but I'm going to go Slayton over Wandale, hoping for TD upside, just hasn't come to pass, so look in other directions if you can, but there's the mid-level risks on these guys this week. And Darren Waller, mid-level risk, got some sprinkles last week. You should see a very similar type of contest. I'm not trusting Darren Waller this week. I'd rather, if he hits on the bench or on the waiver wire. I'm not touching it this week. New York Jets taking on the Washington Commanders, the Commies. Okay, Zach Wilson, he's dealing with a concussion. He's not playing, so we got Trevor Siemian on the low upside, 1.8 points this past week. Not good. I mean, taking over in relief for Zach Wilson, it was not good. Breece Hall, volume upside in the green. How can you even trust Breece Hall at this point? These guys have packed it in. There's nothing left to play for. 5-9. Aaron Rodgers even said, I'm done. I'm done for the season. Pack it up. My Achilles is not good. Or 2 weeks ago, he's like, yeah, I'm good. I can play tomorrow. But the wins just didn't transpire. if you got Breece Hall and you're in the semifinals, I understand the play. I get it. It's just you got to hope for the best. His Kami's defense is not good, so you got to believe there is some upside here. He's been dying for a good game, but I just feel like he's packed it in. He doesn't want to play and injure himself this late in the season, going all the way back to last year where, he hurt his ACL. You got to believe he's taking it a little safer. So you would believe that the Jets would actually give him the day off and give it to Dalvin Cook, but they're not doing that either. So I'm going to say, volume upside is definitely here, but I've got him on the mid-level for Breece Hall this week. It's good upside in the green for a Garrett Wilson. You got to hope garbage time point productivity and the fact that this Commies defense hemorrhages points to wide receivers. So I got good upside flex play for Garrett Wilson. I'm okay with it this week. Hopefully Simeon can at least get him the football. You got to feel bad for these superstars in Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. It's just been ugly. Low floor on the mid-level risk for Ty Conklin. What I say, man, 4.5 points is basically all he's giving you for the floor. So if you got upside somewhere else, look in the other direction. It's just not near enough offensive punch for New York to trust. Philadelphia Eagles taking on those New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Like I'm saying, Jalen Hurts throwing interceptions in the worst possible times, not looking good. He was playing sick last week. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He does look like he's not fully healthy either. That knee is a problem. You got to get back to running the football with DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell. Why are you guys moving away from this? I don't understand. Run the football. This is your MO. This is what you do well, Philly. Give your heads a shake, man. Jalen Hurts still a low-level risk. He's giving you 20 points even on a shitty day. I mean, it's just the way it is. DeAndre Swift, mid-level risk for me. You got to believe it's coming back, man. 7 boom games. He started the season like a lightning out of a bottle, and they pulled him back, man. Philly, get your stuff in order. I do believe DeAndre Swift is a good play this week, especially in your flex option if you have it. I do like it. RB2 should be here. Find your way back to the end zone. Only problem is Jalen Hurts keeps stealing and vulturing all those touchdowns. Kenneth Gainwell, high-level risk. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, even though Devontae is on the knee, questionable to play in this contest. They're saying it's likely he's going to suit up, fire both these gentlemen up. Low-level risk. They got to get a get-right game, and versus New York Giants is definitely how they do it. I think they should be able to at least expose this Giants defense quite a bit as the Giants are done, and they're going to be going for golf season pretty soon here. Dallas Goedert on the mid-level risk. 5, 6, 7 points potentially. I don't like the play this week. I think there's better options at the tight end spot as the Eagles try to figure their stuff out. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on those Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday. Mason Rudolph just in time for Christmas. Rudolph is coming back to town. High-level risk, man. You're not touching Mason Rudolph. This is not good. I don't know what they're trying to, cling to scraps. We know what Rudolph is. He's got a good arm, can get it down the field. He's not accurate. He's not good, and you can't touch it. You can't play it. How are we going to even preach up this running game, man? I've been trying, even against good, matchup play. They keep failing us because guys like George Pickens don't want to block for guys like Jaylen Warren. So, what else can I tell you? The evaluation wasn't wrong. These Steelers just don't want to play football. So, Najee on the mid-level, TD upside potentially. But he's got such a low floor, gets you 2 points, and you're basically going to be out of the fantasy football playoffs. So, if you got better options, look for him. Jaylen Warren, can't trust it, mid-level risk. It's very much too hard to trust even in a big divisional showdown, even though Najee did play the Cincinnati Bengals extremely well the first time they played them. I definitely would be looking in other directions. Hopefully you have other options at this point because it is not good, no bueno. George Pickens on the low upside. It's just he's frustrated, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's snapped his ticket already out of Pittsburgh. But, it just doesn't look good. No effort. He doesn't want to run block. He's not catching passes, but he's angry because he doesn't have a quarterback to get him the football. But you still got to show out and play football. I am not playing Pickens this week. Deontay Johnson on the mid-level risk, PPR upside. He's finding his way back into the end zone magically. Can Mason Rudolph support it? We'll see. I really doubt it. So Deontay over Pickens this week, if you had to pick one, would be my choice. And then Pat Freiermuth, the Muth. He's been absolutely crippled with this room. Just not enough targets, low floor for me. And watch this. He's going to score a touchdown this week. Put money on it because Mason Rudolph will look for the safety blanket. But I got low floor. I'm not trusting Muth this week. If he scores and he pops off, at least I told y'all he's going to get a touchdown. If you want to trust it, I just can't do it this week myself. San Francisco 49ers taking on those Baltimore Ravens on the Monday Night Football on the last contest. Brock Purdy's looking great, man. Low-level risk, fire him up. Christian McCaffrey, without even thinking about it, 324 points, man. If he's not a league winner for all of y'all, I don't know what y'all did to your teams, man. I got shares of CMC, and I'm still alive, so he's carrying us all the way to the fantasy football finals. Believe that. He's going to have a very big game this week as well. Debo continues on the low-level risk. I think they found something great here where it's a mix and match with a Christian McCaffrey and a Debo, and it's kind of pulling back on an Ayuk a little bit. We saw it even even though Ayuk has had, I think booming in the last, 7 straight out of 8 or something like that. I did on the boom and bust show, but I do believe this past week was kind of a precursor to what we could see in this one as well, where Baltimore is going to try to take away Ayuk, because you're not going to take away Debo. They're going to find and manufacture ways to get him the football. Christian McCaffrey likewise, and then you're going to beat him down with a little George Kittle on the mid-level risk. So I still like Brandon Ayuk to play this week. Just temper your expectations. If he finds his way into the end zone, fantastic, then that's a bonus. But if he doesn't, know what I'm saying, man. This defense in Baltimore is no joke, man. Where George Kittle, I do believe, is the better play for tight end safety option on the, safer floor. George Kittle, fire him up everywhere you got him, because his 49ers team is legit, and I don't foresee the Baltimore Ravens really giving him that big of a run, to be honest with you. It's going to be very interesting, man. Seattle Seahawks taking on those Tennessee Titans. Geno is back after Drew Lock, man. He brings you back and you send him back to the bench, man. Seattle, what are you doing? But I understand Geno Smith is a starting quarterback. You do not lose your job to injuries. It's just nice that you got a quarterback to back him up like a Drew Lock. Played very well in that fourth quarter. Mid-level risk for a Geno to a low-level risk. I'm going to put him in between. I think if you got him, you can probably fire him up. The rust might be early on, but he should figure it out as this game does wear on. Tennessee's got a heaping of injuries on the defensive side, and they should be gashable everywhere you got him. Kenny Walker III comes off a massive show. He's got a shoulder now. This guy is, I don't know, man, in the medical room every single week now. Low-level risk, fire him up, man. You can trust Kenny once again, but we could see this contest, if it does get out of hand like it could. Zach Charbonnet should see some more touches in this contest. Low upside to a mid-level risk for Zach Charbonnet, but it will be determined on game script. No kidding. Kenny Walker, fire him up everywhere he got him. DK Metcalf on the low-level risk should eat in this contest once again. Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith-Njigba is kind of one of those things. Pick your poison on this one. Who's going to score the touchdowns? Who's going to get the play? I'm going JSN over Tyler Lockett in this one once again. It's just not enough balls to go around, man. If Geno can actually throw 40 passes a game, then maybe we could see this uplift, but they still are a run-first team, and they're going to continue down that path under Pete Carroll. So I got JSN over Tyler Lockett. For better, PPR upside, we saw what, JSN can do. He is the real deal. Just give him target share, and he could make Tyler Lockett expendable next year, man. $16 million cap savings if they move on from a Tyler Lockett, so it would behoove these Seattle Seahawks to play JSN that much more. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bake show, baby. He's got him in the playoffs, 7-7. Best contest of his career, basically, the past 2 weeks. Gotta love what he's doing. Low-level risk. Fire him up everywhere you got him. 239 points and 9 boom games for Bake Show. You gotta love. Hey, man, this is what happens when you play with a guy like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. It just uplifts your game. Rachaad White, low-level risk, just keeps on booming, man. 200 points. Absolutely stellar second half of the season for Rachaad White. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Likewise with Mike Evans. Keep going with Mike. He's good. He's gonna find an end zone trip once again in this contest. Chris Godwin finally is played the way I've been waiting for him to see. That supportive piece, the PPR upside. Baker finally going away from other options and finding Chris Godwin. I think it does continue in this contest once again. Mid-level risk for me for Chris Godwin. Flex appeal is definitely here. Kate Otten and a Trey Palmer. I'm not playing either. A low upside for Otten and a high-level risk for a Palmer. Those Tennessee Titans taking on the Seahawks. Likely no Will Levis. His ankle is broken, basically. It's a sprain, but, it was pretty bad when he was laying on the field. So we get to see Ryan Tannehill likely one more time in Tennessee colors. Mid-level risk. He hasn't played in a long time. You got to expect, hopefully, he can at least manage the game. That's kind of what you're hoping for if you're a Tennessee Titans fan. It's just not going to be very good. Seattle's got a lot to play for. They're going to come out, guns blazing. So you got to believe they got to run the rock with Derrick Henry. King Henry, low-level risk for me. Fire up King Henry everywhere you got him. 9 boom games. He should get back on track this week with a Tajay Spears mid-level risk. There is some flex appeal here as well, as if Tannehill does play, they should lean on the ground game quite a bit. DeAndre Hopkins mid-level risk, flex appeal, wide receiver 3 is only where I'm going with this, man. If you got better options, maybe take them. The Seattle Seahawks defense, if secondary, is still very stout and should give D-Hop a run for their money. Treylon Burks on the low upside. He's dealing with an illness as well, where Nick Westbrook-Akina, he's on the injured reserve, so it is Chris Moore. Not touching that, along with a Okonkwo. We're not touching that either. So, Tennessee Titans, how can you really trust it in the semifinals? There's not a lot outside of King Henry to speak of. Last one I got is those Washington Commanders, the Commies. Their season is done, going up against the done New York Jets. It's going to be an ugly show, you got to believe. Sam Howell, okay, mid-level risk. I'm going to still put it. It was one of his worst games this past week, but you feel like, he had to have hit a wall at some point, and you didn't oversimplify the contest last week. facing a Jets defense that is likely going to pack it in as well. They're only playing for pride. Sam Howell's still going to sling the football. They're going to continue to move forward. If he does struggle, maybe Brissett does come into play once again. But you got to believe Sam's got to get it right back to business. No run game with a Brian Robinson with a hamstring ruled out already as well. So it is Antonio Gibson. Volume upside on the mid-level. Chris Rodriguez. High-level risk, not touching that, where Terry McLaurin did have a great showing when Brissett came in. So everyone's saying, put Brissett in because he's at least supporting one wide receiver. Maybe that's kind of what you need to see from Sam Howell. Just focus on one guy. Try to get him the football on the regular and then spread it around. So Sam's best part is that he can dissect the field and find the open wide receivers. It's why he's one of the leaders in the NFL in passing yards. So if you're playing a Sam Howell this week, I do caution it because he's coming off a bad showing and there's not much to play for him outside of, next year's position potentially. So it's going to be tough sledding versus the New York Jets defense that still does play very good football. Scary Terry, like I'm saying, maybe flex appeal, wide receiver 3 at most versus the New York Jets. I do not like it. I would look in other directions. Jahan Dotson, we haven't been able to trust for a long time. Where Curtis Samuel, like I said last week, fire this man up everywhere you got him, and he repaid us with 2 tutties. Likely got you the victories, carried us to the semifinals. PPR upside on the mid-level once again, where they likely will take away a Scary Terry. Curtis Samuel is going to be the beneficiary once again in that respect. And Logan Thomas, high-level risk. Do not like it, so Samuel in your flex is not a bad option whatsoever, but it could be another ugly day for these Washington Commanders. But there you have it. That is week number 16 starts it, and this is the semifinals. No turning back. We're almost there to get our trophies. And like I said, Merry Christmas to everybody. We'll see you before the new year for the championship round starts it and all the videos to come that week. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. Any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll definitely get back to y'all, but we'll see you next time. I am out.